Right now, I hope you are all enjoying your free trial to communism. We're seeing the government print money like crazy. Everyone's locked down under authoritarian rules. You can't go outside. You can't party. You'll be fined if you're caught. You better wear a mask. Our free trial hopefully will expire, but in Spain, it's not. They're going to be launching universal basic income in Spain, and their goal is to make it permanent. I'm being a bit facetious. It's not necessarily communism. It's not the same thing. And there's some interesting arguments for universal basic income and some pretty good ones against it. But let's read the story and then we can talk about a recent study, a recent attempt at universal basic income and why it failed. And for many of you probably already know this, but the economics behind it, why they don't work and what people hoped to accomplish. Spain to launch universal basic income soon from the Hill. Spanish economy minister Nadia Calvino said the coronavirus-stricken nation intends to implement a universal basic income program as soon as possible to blunt the pandemic's economic impact. Calvino, also the nation's deputy prime minister, told Spanish broadcaster La Sexta in a Sunday night interview that Spanish Social Security Minister José Luis Escrivá plans to implement a basic income plan as soon as possible, Bloomberg reported. While the immediate goal of the program will be to provide relief to families that have lost income due to the virus-related lockdowns, the country is developing it with an eye toward making it a resource that stays forever. It becomes a structural instrument, a permanent instrument, she said, according to Bloomberg. Spain's virus outbreak is the second worst in Europe, behind Italy, which on Sunday reported a total of 128,948 cases, dipping below Spain's total 135,000. The two have the second and third highest number of cases, behind the U.S., which reported 336,000. Now, to be fair, let's slow down a little bit. That's like saying all of Europe compared to the U.S. because these are tiny, tiny countries. It would be like you'd have to compare Spain to like New York or something. So in reality, Europe, I think, is much worse off. On Monday, the Spanish health ministry reported the pace of coronavirus deaths fell for the fourth consecutive day, with a total of 13,000. Where we get the numbers. The country's single deaths peaked on Thursday and have been declining since. The drop came after Spain surpassed China. The Spanish government has implemented numerous relief policies for companies and self-employed workers affected by pandemic-related closures and said more will likely be necessary. So for us, we're hoping that our trial to communism will end. For them, likely going to be permanent. Universal basic income right now doesn't work. It's been tried, it fails. And every time it does, there's some excuse that comes from the universal basic income crowd. The closest I think we've ever seen to a functioning idea as to how it could possibly happen is Andrew Yang. I was a big fan of Andrew Yang. I mean, I still think the guy's pretty cool. I have reservations about his universal basic income plan, but I think he had one of the most comprehensive strategies for basically everything. He had like an MMA plan. Did you know that? Like on Yang's website, he talks about MMA and like unionizing or something. It's kind of crazy, but he's a relatively smart guy. Talked about a lot of rational things, and he approached things as kind of from a smart position. The problem with UBI is that you are getting to the core root of what drives the economy and you're devaluing it. So the easiest way to explain it, and actually before I do, I'm going to show you, I'll be a bit silly. Did you know that thousands of feminists marched in Spain on Women's Day? That's right. On March 8th, feminists defied recommendations from the CDC in Europe and marched anyway. Well, men are twice as likely to be impacted, and now they're demanding universal basic income. Conspiracy. I'm just kidding. But this is true. They actually did this. I'm not saying they did it on purpose. That's the joke. So bear with me. But we have this story from just in December. One of the world's biggest basic income trials, a 2-year program in Finland, was a major flop. But experts say the test was flawed. And there it is. Every single time they try socialism, it fails. Every hard implementation fails. Every experiment towards it fails. It doesn't work. Universal basic income is just another attempt at something similar to socialism. It does not work. Right now, we're truly learning what is essential and what isn't. Grocery store workers are 1,000,000 times more valuable than a celebrity right now. We have no problem making fun of celebrities. We are begging for the help of grocery store workers. Think about that for a second. These stores, they're giving pay raises. I kid you not. Not all of them. Here's what Business Insider writes. It wasn't the news that researchers wanted. 2 years after Finland launched a basic income trial, in which nearly 2,000 unemployed residents were given a regular monthly stipend, many of the recipients remained jobless. The people reported that they were happier and healthier overall than the other unemployed residents, but the experiment was widely declared a failure. It was discouraging to the basic income community, Michael Stein, CEO of the nonprofit Jane Family Institute, told Business Insider. But the survey results, as far as I can tell, are not really usable. And there it is. Indeed, many basic income researchers have pointed out what they see as serious flaws in the study that skewed its conclusions. In an article for Jacobin, Jimmy O'Donnell, a senior researcher assistant at the Brookings Institution, identified a few major problems. Let me stop you right there. Jacobin's a socialist magazine, so of course they're going to try and justify this like they do with every other socialist nightmare that emerges. I can just tell you why it doesn't work. Why would someone get a job if they don't need to? The problem we have here, and I'll walk you through the basic income thing real quick. Let's say right now someone works at a grocery store. They're making a couple $1,000s a month working full time. I don't even know if that's fair to say a couple $1,000s a month. Let's say they're making $1,600 a month before taxes. That's a full-time grocery store employee, like $10 an hour, I guess. So now you implement universal basic income. You say everyone's going to get $1,000 a month. That person now thinks to themselves, I'm getting $1,000 a month. I'm getting $1,600 a month working full time. I cannot work full time and get $1,000. I lose that $600, but I get all the free time in the world. And there's nothing more valuable than time. That's it. Time is life. You get to do stuff. You get to hang out. Send to the stars. Why bother? So they stop working. Now the supermarket says, whoa, we're losing our grocery store workers who are essential. How do we get them back? So they start putting job listings. We will pay you $10 an hour. All of a sudden, everyone's quit. So they say, I guess we got to increase how much we pay because they're already getting money from the government. They don't need to work. And this is a low skill job. It's essential, but let's, facing and stocking, not the hardest jobs in the world. I mean, tedious, frustrating for sure. So anyway, the supermarket will then say, okay, we'll pay $20 an hour. That way you're guaranteed to get more money. All of a sudden now people say, oh man, I do get $1,000 from the government, but man, $20 an hour for this job? I'll work a little bit, then I'll get more income and then I can buy the things I want. So now all of a sudden the store has doubled the cost of labor, which means every product in the store goes up in cost to accommodate the labor required to stock and face, to put everything on the shelves. And now what happens? These people who are working start complaining. The $1,000 I'm getting from the government doesn't even buy me a cheeseburger anymore. The cost of cheeseburgers have gone up. McDonald's, for instance, same thing. So universal basic income doesn't work. We want it to, but there are some really, really good arguments that we need to consider. First, to be fair, we spend a ridiculous amount of money on the prison system. And there's actually been people who have argued that if someone breaks the law, we should pay them money. I'm not kidding. Think about how much it costs for someone to go to jail, right? The argument is under UBI, there would be problems, there would be rapid inflation, but think about this. With people having minimal access to some goods, they're less likely to commit crimes. A lot of poverty breeds crime, for instance. It wouldn't guarantee it, but it would definitely reduce crimes of desperation, not crimes of opportunity. The argument is, if we're going to spend $30,000 a year or more on a jail cell inmate or a prison inmate, why don't we just give them $15,000 a year, but say, but if you commit another crime, you lose all that money. Then they're less likely to commit crimes because they're like, man, I'm getting paid. If I commit a crime, I lose this? Now, the problem with it is, on the surface, you understand how it's supposed to function. All you would really do is incentivize people to be first-time criminals and then just go back to living a normal life to get access to UBI, so it doesn't work. They then say the argument is then to give everyone access to UBI, and you lose it if you commit a crime. That also sounds like a good idea. The problem is rapid inflation. You'll have to keep increasing the amount of money you're giving people every single month to keep up with the dramatic and rapid inflation. And it's akin to currency manipulation. It's just not going to work. What's actually happening here is that the amount of money these people have makes no difference. It's the amount we value minimal labor, like low skilled labor. That's all that really matters. So you can change the number, you can manipulate the number, but if I don't value low skilled labor, then I'm not going to pay for it. If I really need it, I'll pay more for it. Giving someone money doesn't change that. All you're doing is giving them access to the economy without having provided any energy into the economy. It just doesn't make sense. You're trying to create a perpetual motion machine. It doesn't work. It can't work. There are some interesting ideas, however. Voucher systems for schools. Perhaps we can't do a universal basic income blanket system. But perhaps we can allocate tax spending through universal voucher type systems. You choose which utility company you want to use. You choose which police department. You choose what school. So the government will tax everybody and then give people vouchers based on the utilities they're granted access to or guaranteed access to. I'll tell you this. It didn't work. There have been studies after studies after studies. It doesn't work. So Spain, go for it. But what do you think's going to happen? Spain's got porous borders. We see videos all the time of people rushing into Spain. Are they going to create a surf class? People who are citizens of Spain or the EU will get guaranteed access? What if Spain implements this UBI and someone lives in France and they say, I'll just move to Spain because it's part of the Schengen zone. Now I get a free check. It doesn't make sense. These plans are ridiculous. They'll abandon it. But we'll see how it plays out. Maybe I'm wrong. I got one more segment for you coming up in a few minutes, and I will see you all shortly.